Let's build. My name is Eve Darbooz, and this is the Pan African product. By product, of course, I mean an actual product. Thinking as if you're developing a piece of software, as if you're developing a pharmaceutical medicine dispenser that solves problems like the actual medicine melts in certain weathers, or can be the simple touch and fingerprints will ruin the medicine. So you need to have a dispenser where your fingers never touch it. These are real life situations that tend to need a product manager. One, is it a real problem to solve? Are there people who have real challenges? And does it make the company money making this investment in this feature? Product management is typically the fulfillment of the idea, the actual going ahead and developing. Product ownership, which is sometimes blended in product management, most times blended into the product management role, and you call it different things in different industries. A product manager is the appropriate name in a tech company, but for a marketing company, you might call it a creative director, associate creative director. When I ran my interactive agency, because at the time, no one used that term, product manager, or to mean what it means now. It was a very, very different career back then. You know, I wore the title executive creative or creative director on projects because in every sense of the word, it is the appropriate title in the marketing space. So a lot of these ideas have overlap, have or double or triple uses. And in my book, Leave, we talk about who this product, the Pan African state, who this product is for, which is an important idea to think about, because you may be creating something that nobody wants. There may be no Africans that want to go back. There may be no Africans, or not enough to make it worthwhile, the upheaval it would cost and the work that it would take. We could have done the market research that we did in the book and found out people don't want that. But take the Pan-African title off of it, right? Take the Pan-African title off of it and think it through. You don't have to go as in-depth as I did, but change the title. Take off the name, or take off the ideology, take off the Pan-Africanism. Do you want a place, right? Because the epic, with the guiding principle of the entire project, the product itself, right? It is a simple epic for the Pan-African state. We call these user stories. As a human being, here's the epic. As a human being, I would like to live in a country where I am safe, prosperous, and sovereign, or free. That's the epic. That's the user story that guides this whole. Obviously, there's more to an epic, but the basic idea: as a human being, I want to live in a country where I am safe, prosperous, and free. Isn't that what we all want, right? But that is the guiding user story for the Pan-African state. What I'm building, if you asked every African on the continent, who some agree and disagree at varying stages, because as the famous saying goes, if I asked my customers what they wanted, they would ask for a faster horse. That's Henry Ford, who might have stole that from someone, but Henry Ford takes credit for that one. A car maker with the vision to realize, if I went around and did stakeholder interviews with my customers and asked them what did they want, right? Most of them would say a faster horse. Just like many Africans would wish for all kinds of things that we know from the work done in my book doesn't work. There is no collaboration with the West. There is no, you can't present yourself as weak and somehow have, fidelity of living circumstances. They won't even let you have the means of production now, right? So as a product manager, and let's all be product managers. Let's all work at a software company called the Pan African State, right? You have to define who is it for. People think that this is some form of evangelism. I am not an evangelist. I'm sharing this information in hope that the people who want it group up, that we start building initiatives that lead to actual Black liberation, to actual African freedom. I mean, all of us, every single one of us, to actually have that user story, that the user story that is the epic of the whole project. As a human being, I want to be safe, prosperous, and free. A thing that no African leader can provide their people as these scattered nations. No African leader can provide or fulfill that user story. So for the people who want it, for the people who are willing to work, the smart people, you don't have to be humble Pan-Africans. You're just reciting something that is true. Malcolm X, brilliant. Kwame Nkrumah, brilliant. Patrice Lumumba, even more brilliant. He had to go because he was so dangerous as a human himself, as a person. Malcolm X called him the most impressive man on earth. This system, the product we are building, has to satisfy that, right? The top line directive is Africa is for the Africans. If we know that, if that is our guiding principle, our user story is a simple user story. As a human, want to live in a country where safe, sovereign, prosperous, and free. They'll tell me, oh, you want to steal the foundational Black Americans. No, I don't. I want you to stay where you are if you like it. I want you to stay where you are if you like it. But if you have a bigger vision, than just serving them, or just hopefully one day you will become as rich, or they'll just snap out of it. If you think they will just let go of this poison, you haven't been paying attention the last 500 years. You haven't been paying attention the last 3,000 years. If that's your plan, you failed your descendants, and you failed the ancestors, right? If your plan is to cozy up with the people that are doing what they're doing in Israel, doing what they're doing in Venezuela, doing what they're doing in Nigeria, doing what they're doing in Somalia, doing what they're doing in Sudan, doing what they did and continue to do in Libya, don't you want to fight these people? I'm not talking about with weapons. I'm not talking about meeting them on the battlefield and fighting them. I'm talking about fighting them with your mind, being able to eviscerate the clamps that hold you from to be sophisticated people. This is not for jingoistic people. This is not for racist people. This is not for any of these things that are barbaric ideas that are not conducive to your success in life. You want to pretend that you're not African. You want to claim something else, some in-between place that you can live and hide. That's not who this is for. This is for someone whose mind, you may own one movie theater in America. You might have the best little Black-owned movie theater in the United States. They only let the films go to a certain amount of movie theaters, and you're not in the club with Cinemark and these other Lowe's and what do you call them? Paramount, I don't know, MGM, right? But if you have vision, this is for you. If you can see, if I go to Africa and I apply for the funding, I can build 54 movie theaters in every Pan-African nation. And it could have a unique experience that I created. And now I'm funding African films. We're creating a whole film industry ecosystem. And if you create content that helps repair or the self-esteem and the African psyche, we'll just like America does, don't get it twisted. The CIA funds a lot of movies. The Pan-African state should fund any type of film that repairs the African psyche. Whatever it is that makes us see our children see the white baby and the black baby, and they choose the white baby as the good baby. First of all, I want to live in a state that you never have to have that baby test, but the media you consume is what created that idea in your mind. The reason why you're always dreaming a rich man is going to come save you is because you were bombed with Batman your whole life. This is for people with vision. In America, I might get a charge if I have an idea that's too good, or if I get the financing to come and buy your means of production. They don't even want you to own a television station. They'll buy your television station just to make sure you aren't making the decisions of what we see and what media affects our minds. That's who it's for, the person that sees that and may not have a gripe in his mind, may not have ever even thought of going to Africa. But if he went to Africa and he said, if I was a part of this movement and we lifted 300 to 500 million people out of poverty, that market would allow me to build anything. Now you're developing communities. Now you're creating universities, founding universities, and the system that we created has the tools to make that possible. The idea of who this is for must also recognize it may not be for you today, but it may be for you later on as you start to pay attention and identify the great aspects of being a Pan-African. The great aspects, you may not see it now. You may think, oh, okay, let's see how they perform. But at every stage of the game, there is a type of user when you're creating a product. This is called a product adoption curve. A product adoption curve is a kind of way to look at your market and when the type of users or the type of customers, or in the version of the Pan-African state, the type of citizens, right? In the beginning, where this is around where we are, you have the innovators. Some people call them the mavericks. The people that's willing to go and build. The people that's there right now. Then, after them, there's a group called the early adopters. The early adopters are brave. Not as brave and wild and as the innovators, but they're the group that sees the early adopters and they start doing that. This is where we are right now. We are pitching this thing, the idea, the concept. But in this area of time of this curve, it starts off, I always start mine off a little high at the beginning, because at the beginning here, you're gonna have promotion. But for the Pan-African state, the promotion is just, there's people who just wanna go back to Africa, people who feel the connection and wanna go, all right? And then the early adopters will come when there's an actual product. The Mavericks will use the MVP. The early adopters will use the 1.0, so to speak. And then here is what we call the chasm. I like to think of the chasm as the rest of the people seeing what happens to the people in this group here. Can we make an actual Pan-African state happen, right? That decides what happens here. After the chasm, you have, right, as this ticks up, the early majority. Where should I put that? This group lives between here and here. These folks are our main people we'll be selling this to. Not just in the diaspora, all over Africa. once they see the success, the implementation of the arrow, the security agreement, some of the things that you would have to look at some of our other videos and you know, to check that out and see what the concepts and conceivable ideas that we're trying to operationalize. The early majority would come after we've been successful at implementing these other things. And for a while they'd be good. And then there's these people, like I call them reverse innovators, because I don't like the real word for them. That's I put innovators as another kind, right? But the laggards is the typical name, right? It's a mean name, but it's true. Everything's happened, right? Right. You have in your MVP stage, a concept, a prototype. The people willing to use to bank on the prototype live here, right? And the chasm usually just happens because people want to see, is those crazy people who tried it early, are they having a good time? And if the answer is yes, you cross that chasm and you start to introduce other products to the early minority. Did I say early minority? The early majority, right? The people that's willing to face the chasm with us. And then of course, the people, it's looking like Dubai in Africa. That's when you start to have that early majority come. Our movement is never going to be a popular movement. It's 5% that fights the revolutions, and if that much. You have to be clear on that in these early stages. That in this period, in this point in time, we're the crazy people, the Pan Africans. They think they could put 54 countries together and make one big super country. You're goddamn right we do. We're the smart ones. We're the brilliant ones. We're the ones that history has told us we were right. Malcolm Delaney, right. Marcus Garvey, right. Kwame Nkrumah, super right, right? So knowing that, we have to be ready to face this chasm. We have to be ready to attract our early adopters, the people who would make sense, the smart people, the people with vision. And then that's how we execute. That's how we get it. That's how we start rolling out the product. The early majority, expect them to come in because we will be successful. This product adoption curve, it could be a 10-year, right? But most likely it's a 20-year curve that we're looking at here. So we have to be patient. We have to be smart. We have to know what we have to fulfill, and we have to be people who execute. If you're not people that execute, then you can't, you don't want to be a part of this. We're looking for the people who have the minds to conceive a better future. It's not for all black people. It's not for people who consider themselves black people. It is for Africans who want a united Africa. The users of this story, I'll say it one last time. As a human, I want to live in a country where I am safe, prosperous, and free. Let's do this. That's what this plan is. That's the pitch to the early majority. That's the pitch to the early adopters too. Heck, these wild mavericks, the innovators who are in Africa doing Pan-African stuff right now. That's right, Ibrahim Traore, Chiani, Goita. Those are the mavericks. The Sahel is an MVP, and I know it's working because they just tried to kill him again. They just tried to assassinate the president again. But you have to thwart them. These are the mavericks, everybody. And we gotta go forward. And there's other African leaders that's a maverick. My boy Malema is a maverick. Maverick, I hear you. You inspired me. I wrote my book thinking about some of the speeches I've heard you give. You are a maverick. And we have to somehow convince these laggards that African liberation is worth the fight. African liberation that is worth fighting this war and winning it. This war of the will. You just have to not be afraid, and you just have to brush off 500 years of mental conditioning. That's all. I know it's gonna be hard, but we have no choice. Africa for the African. My name is Yves Darbouz, and this has been the Pan African Flyer. It is for you. This is for you. This has been the Pan African Product.